money is just a game. It's just a mind game. Now, when Bob Proctor told me this, I don't know, would have been 34 years or so ago, I kind of thought the man was crazy. I mean, me, energy, money is a mind game. And at the very same time, he was probably looking at me like I was crazy because I didn't get it. In fact, years later, after he helped me correct my trajectory, he would get up on stage and he would talk about it. He would say, I met Diane when she was working at a real estate company, working endless hours in writing and marketing. And she was at the ceiling of that department, making $28,000 a year. And then he would step back and he would look around at all of the crowd and he would say, $28,000 a year. He would be so aghast. And he said, I would look at her and think, how in the world did she let the world convince her that she was so small? I want to tell you something right out of the gate. You were never meant to drag around money chains made of debt and guilt and limitation. So why are they still clanking around in your world? Hi, everybody. I'm Diane Armitage, and welcome to the Catalyst Code, where we crack the internal code that creates the external result. I'm your host, and after 27 years as Bob Proctor's writing partner and protege, I've been helping people all over the world step into their greatness and create better in their worlds, whatever that better might be. And I think it's about your turn. So each week in Catalyst Code, I teach you how to activate momentum, rewire your mind, and create results that actually stick. You are the catalyst. This is the code. So let's go. Now, this week, it's a barn burner. I'm talking about the subject of money, which probably grabs more headlines than anything else in the world. And it's been grabbing headlines since the Romans were able to chisel headlines on stone tablets back in the day. Money has proven to be a conundrum, a dilemma, a stomper, a crusher in millions of people's lives. It's an enigma. It's a puzzle. And it has the ability to suck the air right out of the room. It has the ability to suck the air right out of your soul. When you have to think about money a lot in your life, it's usually not because you've just won the lottery and you're trying to figure out who all gets a check from you, who you're going to pay the money to. So what you're going to learn today here is that money is an energy, just like your health and just like love. Now, I know it sounds crazy already, but stick with me here. If you have a perfectly healthy body and you're feeling great, you don't really even think about it, right? You just exist in that state, right? But if you break a toe, or if you wake up with a migraine, or you hear an unpleasant diagnosis about your body, everything in your awareness shifts to that pinpoint awareness. When you're in a strong, positive relationship with a partner, it may even be a relationship for years. You may come from a place of gratitude and peace and tranquility. I hope you do, but you're probably not even aware of those feelings because you're just in the state. It's where you live from every day. But if something unexpected or negative were to suddenly happen with that partner or between the two of you, you'd better believe that all your awareness shifts to that issue, right? Right? Money, or the lack of money, operates the very same way. When or if you have an abundant supply of money that just keeps heaping up in piles all around you, you certainly may check on it. You may move it around a little bit. You may do things with it. You may buy things with it. I certainly hope you do. But that abundant state of being is just a state that you are in. It's a part of who you are, of how you live. So it's really not something that holds your awareness. It doesn't hold your awareness hostage by any stretch. But if you find yourself repeatedly or ongoingly making ends meet, monitoring your debt or the bounciness of your checking account, if you find that you make money and lose money and make money and lose money, and you keep going around and around in that circle and it never seems to end, no matter what you do to hold it and protect it, you feel like you're still trying to figure out how to pay for things or how to cut back to a budget that feels a bit stringent or even suffocating. If you feel like you have to say no to the things that you really want in your life, for you, for your spouse, for your family, for your cat, for your dog. And you can't foresee bigger gouts of money marching in the door anytime soon. When you're in that place, it becomes your state. That place becomes your state. And after months and years of this, it begins to feel like a part of who you are, a permanent attachment of ongoing mild to severe misery. It's like those clanging chains of Marley's ghost, you know, when he was marching around Scrooge's apartment, the guy dragged those things around. But money isn't a clanging chain. It is an energy, and it is merely an exchange of energy. It's definitely not any part of who you are, your actual makeup. It's simply an energetic force working with or against you, working with or against you, the other energetic but much more powerful force. But that working against you bit, it is not money's fault. It's just energy responding to like energy. You got that? You following me here? So today, we're going to start changing that perception that might have had you believing, falling for the lie, that money has some kind of power or control over your life, that it's the deciding governor of how you live. Now, wherever you fall on the money Richter scale today, you can go higher, absolutely higher. In fact, you have every ability to sail right off the money Richter scale because you're going to come to understand that you have all the power, and money is just a game. It's just a mind game. Now, when Bob Proctor told me this, I don't know, would have been 34 years or so ago, I kind of thought the man was crazy. I mean, energy, money is a mind game. And at the very same time, he was probably looking at me like I was crazy because I didn't get it. In fact, years later, after he helped me correct my trajectory, he would get up on stage and he would talk about it. He would say, I met Diane when she was working at a real estate company, working endless hours in writing and marketing. And she was at the ceiling of that department, making $28,000 a year. And then he would step back and he would look around at all of the crowd and he would say, $28,000 a year. He would be so aghast. And he said, I would look at her and think, how in the world did she let the world convince her that she was so small? The very last video that Bob ever recorded on this planet was a surprise video gift for me. He decided to give me a very powerful endorsement of me as a mentor and the legendary course that I was offering as a must-have course. It was really quite a phenomenal gift that he did for me. And you'll see that video at the top of my YouTube channel. But he said in that video, he said that when he met me, he said, Diane was one of the most powerful writers I had ever met in the world, but she didn't know it yet. And as we worked together, she came to understand who she really was. I saw Diane create legendary success for herself and for her clients, including me. Now, Bob saw who I really was before I did for myself. And I changed my trajectory. And I did create legendary success in my life because of what he taught me about my power over money, about my power to choose a life I deserved, period. This is now what I'm here to do for you in the Catalyst Code. All the best lessons that Bob personally taught me, every step I took to put that teaching into action, to propel myself from a life of lack and limitation and debt ceilings and holding back on how I was going to spend my money, to one of abundance and freedom. And I've really enjoyed creating new classes, new courses that really help my clients understand in a new way, a new angle, because I came from so much lack and limitation. By time Bob met me, he had already been the Jedi master mind guru of this for 40 years. And so when you're in that state for so long, you almost forget what it was like to not be in that state. And so that's why I love creating all of this for you, so that you understand, I know I was close to this. I came from it. I changed the trajectory. So can you. Because, I got to tell you, when you don't have to think about where the money is going to come from anymore, you have definitely regained your freedom. And I say regain for a reason, because let me tell you, you landed on this planet with a purpose to change the world. You did not land on this planet to suffer and struggle and go without. But then the world got a hold of you and it began telling you how it really is. This is how it really is. This is how money really is. You forgot who you really were. But now it's time to regain that presence and knowledge of who you really are, just like Bob said in that video. And today I'm going to share with you a couple of the biggest lessons he taught me, the biggest lessons that worked personally for me around money. Now, first of all, Bob was always recommending books to me. And he and I would take time in the mornings and we would read together. And what a gift that was, right? To be able to read with Bob Proctor. And I'd be like, I do not understand a single word on this page. And he would very calmly go through and explain it all to me. I mean, what an extraordinary gift. And he gave me many, many, many reading assignments as well. And one of those authors, Robert Russell, he wrote a great book on prosperity. And then he wrote a follow-up workbook called Putting Prosperity to Work. I have both of those on my website if you want to go see those books and get those books in your world. They're amazing. Now, one of the quotes that I memorized from the workbook, Robert Russell said, prosperity is a state of consciousness. And anyone who has this consciousness will demonstrate prosperity no matter where he or she is. It is not the job or the business or the geography that makes a person prosperous, but what he or she brings to it. Did you get that part? It is not the job or the business or the geography that makes a person prosperous, but what he or she brings to it. Energy moving to the energy. Energy shifting the energy in whatever direction it wants to take. And he went on to say, this whole matter then turns on one's consciousness. This whole matter turns on your consciousness. Where's your consciousness about money? Now, at this point in your life, your consciousness is so ingrained that it's not even conscious anymore. It's entirely unconscious. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Unfailingly planting all the seeds, fertilizing that growing tangle of weedy thoughts, and harvesting the negativity and the lack. Your money successes or money failures have nothing more than a belief that has been ingrained. Remember, a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. A belief is just a thought that you keep thinking and thinking. You keep thinking it and you keep getting emotionally involved with it as you think about it, every time you think about it. And before you know it, you have a belief that begins to steer your ship. It begins to steer your entire life's journey. Now, it could be an awesome belief, but in many cases, not so awesome of a belief. This belief pattern becomes a habitual pattern. It's what I often refer to, what Bob always used to say, as a paradigm in your mind, a paradigm. It's a program. It's a program. It's a deeply cut groove in your mind and your life that just spins like a vinyl record in a circle. Your life spinning, playing that groove, playing that track over and over and over. Now, let me give you an example. Okay, let's think for a moment about all of the things you've heard about money, all of the derogatory things you've heard about money, because I bet you've heard a lot more derogatory than you have heard positive. I mean, this is stuff that we've been told about money for years, for decades, as we were growing up in our own homes, even what we heard about from teachers, from coaches, from our peers, what we hear today. I mean, have you looked at the news? Have you watched the news? Or have you listened to people talking in restaurants around you? There's a lot going on right now today about money. So let's think about some of these derogatory thoughts, right? Okay, I'm going to come up with a few of them. Okay, how about it takes money to make money? Money doesn't grow on trees. Smart people buy used cars. We can't afford that. Put it back. How many times did your mother say that? We can't afford that. Put it back. At the end of the month, I always have more days than money. Everything has gotten so expensive. Money is evil. How about you've got to work hard if you want to make more money? You can't have love and have money at the same time. Just remember, you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth. You can't always get what you want. I mean, the Rolling Stones sang that song. You can't always get what you want, but you eventually find a way to settle. How about we're not rich, but we're happy? How about your mom or your dad looking at you aghast and saying, I worked really hard for that money? Or another classic line from your parents, who do you think I am? Rockefeller? How about the billionaires are getting all the money? Or last time I checked, I wasn't born a trust fund, baby. I mean, think about all of that. Isn't that amazing? So see, in our everyday lives, we may not consciously ever recognize these belief patterns lurking in the background in our unconscious state. And you may say, well, that's ridiculous. I think for myself, Diane. I got past that old programming from my family and where I grew up and how I grew up years ago. Really? Really? Okay. So say you go shopping and you find this really great sweater and you take it off the rack and you're admiring it and you're loving it and you're thinking of having this in your life. And then what do you do next? You start rooting around for the price tag, right? I mean, you're certainly not looking for how to launder the garment. So you find the price tag and you stare at it, and then you very quietly put the sweater back on the rack. Why? Because you put things back that you can't afford. After all, money doesn't grow on trees, right? It is a groove in your mind, grooved like a record track. But if you have the power to change what's playing, when you understand that you have the power to change what's playing, you can pick up that needle and move it to a track of your choosing. I mean, I want you to look at this list of ridiculousness, the money tapes that you have in your own head. And I want you to repeat after me. None of this belongs to who I am. None of this ridiculousness belongs to who I really am. Man, there is so much to unpack here, how we actually shift our money energy. And I'm here to walk you through all of it. In fact, what you're hearing today is going to have to be part one. Next week, in part two, I'll take you even deeper. Vampire thoughts, money mojo, and the wild ways that Bob Proctor rewired my entire financial reality. Well, he actually didn't rewire my entire financial reality. I did that, but it sure came from a lot of great tips and recommendations and rather strong commands from Bob. Because when Bob Proctor personally taught me to change my money pattern thinking, he was super creative. He was funny about it. He had me do the craziest things sometimes because he knew that the first thing I had to do was shake off the serious drama energy of money that I had been lugging around with me since my childhood. Because let's face it, you probably have tried every other stoic thing to change your financial position. And while some of it may be working very well for you, it may not be very much fun. I mean, a lot of people teach about money from a stern point of view, like economics and downturns and recession proofing. And do you have enough money to retire? And option trading, which, as it turns out, really is not very optional at all. I mean, studies prove that when you walk into a bank, your entire energy changes. People's entire energy changes from their facial expressions to the way they walk because they've been trained to believe that money is very serious business. It is a solemn business. It has power and it has us by the short hairs. The church of money. Can you even imagine then what a turnaround it was for me to spend all that time with Bob Proctor, who treated money like he was a friend, like an easy breezy kind of thing, like something that enriched his life and made life more fun. I saw so many instances of Bob having fun with money. And I got the biggest crack up watching him play the slot machines in Las Vegas because he always won. He always won. Whenever he and I were meeting to go to lunch or something, I would come down from my room, usually at the Bellagio, because that's where Bob loved to stay. And I knew I could just listen like a pointer dog for the biggest whoop, 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 winner, ding, 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 in the whole slot machine section of the entire Bellagio casino, because I knew I would find Bob at that machine. He was a whale in Las Vegas. He was a whale. They would send him invitations for their big slot machine tournaments. And let me tell you, these were not nickel slot machines. I asked him once, I said, how in the world he did this? I mean, slot machines are so random. I mean, they're random. And he would look at me in his usual blithe way, and he would just say, well, Di, I just walk through the slot machines and feel their energy. Now you may say, well, Bob Proctor, he was a Jedi master. Of course it worked for him. Of course he felt the energy. Listen, my friends, all of us start out as Luke Skywalker. Even Bob Proctor, back in the day when he was young, he was Luke Skywalker, fumbling and bumbling and getting swatted around by the universe because we don't know any better. But that doesn't mean that the Force isn't with us. That doesn't mean that the Force isn't with you, because the Force is in you. You are the energy. You are the kinetic, energetic factor. You have all the power. You just have to step into it. You just need to open yourself up to what Obi-Wan Kenobi told Luke Skywalker when they were on Han Solo's dilapidated ship and Luke is training with that laser thing. And Obi-Wan Kenobi said, the Force is an energy field. You hear that? You go back and you watch Star Wars. You're going to learn some interesting things that you probably never heard before. The Force is an energy field that surrounds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together. Let go of your conscious self and act on instinct, Luke. Stretch out with your feelings. Now, that's a big hint to what I'm going to be teaching in the next part. I learned how to become a Jedi, and I can teach you how too, because most of us don't just know how to align with the force of money. We have to relearn it. And that's exactly where we pick up next week in part 2. I'm going to show you how I went from $28,000 a year to living in my dream penthouse in my dream city, and the tiny strategic steps that rewired my entire money state. Plus, in part 2, we're going to be dragging some money vampires into the light. We're going to play a game that will change your relationship with money forever. So stay tuned. Until then, remember this. You are the catalyst, and you've got the Force. You are the Force. Now, if today hit home, please hit subscribe. Share it with your smartest, greatest friends, and hop into the Code Vault. The Code Vault is your backstage pass to bold breakthroughs. Because although passive listening to this podcast is great, and I love having you here, it won't necessarily rewire your relationship with money. The Code Vault is my private $11 a month membership, where we dive deeper each week with exclusive mindset tools and strategy drops and activators that I create that help you apply what you've just heard. Inside this week's activator, I think it's going to have to be about a brand new tool to help you spot the old money beliefs that are still running the show, that are still playing that vinyl around and around. And I'm going to show you how to start rewriting that groove. I'm going to show you how to create a new groove for you. The link for the Code Vault is in the show notes. Go get it. And in the meantime, make it a great week living and basking in the state of your powerful energy. I will see you next week.